Welcome back to this already the final episode of Monday's Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Glad to have Chris Kidd here in the studios. Chris Kidd, that's Chris, just like it sounds, that's with a C, Kidd, KIDD.com. Does a lot in terms of the financial and personal wealth coaching, and works a lot with, and increasingly more so with athletes and those who work with athletes. Chris, glad to have you on the program.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we've had some awesome interviews over the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, a lot of fun. All right, we're going to jump straight to our guest. Go ahead and introduce him real quick.
Well, my guest today is Dave Ferguson. He's a national sports broadcaster and an expert sports analyzer. He's been a coach and player and is heavily involved still with his local community and mentoring and stuff like that. So, Dave, you still there?
I am.
Dave, welcome to the program. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you're doing.
Sure. I've been running a nationally syndicated radio program for the past number of years, talking about everything in sports from A to Z and everything in between. My background comes from about 16, 17 years of coaching a myriad of different sports, i.e., hockey, baseball, tennis, soccer, lacrosse, a number of things over the years, as well as being a trainer, board member, and things of that nature. And we do talk about on my radio program, as I said, everything about sports, concerning athletes. Yeah,
very, very good. Your question, Chris?
Well, you want to share the name of your program real quick as well?
Sure. It's Beyond the Cheers is the radio program, beyondthecheers.com.
Well, Dave, what's going on in sports? Lately it seems to be getting crazier and crazier. And I saw the deal recently. The Boston's basketball coach recently resigned, and it was over some bullying the players. What are your thoughts on that?
It's four players that have come forward with regards to allegations against the Boston University coach Kelly Greenberg, with allegations of verbal and emotional abuse and things of that nature. She subsequently has stepped down since then, the latter part of April. She's resigning from the team. The coach is resigning from the team because of these allegations, which during the course of the investigation from Boston University, who took them all very seriously, said they couldn't substantiate the complaints. However, there was a compelling case made based on interviews with the team as a whole, and that manner in which Coach Greenberg interacted with many of the players was incompatible and with the expectations and standards for university employees, including their coaches. So I think given all that put forth, Kelly Greenberg thought it was just apropos and from her side of the fence to step aside and move on. It was the last part of her contract anyway. She was done after this season. So,
well, do you think that you think this is a new thing, or are we just raising a generation of wimps now, or people can't take it? Or
that is true. There's no question about that. There's a lot of prima donnas out there. But that's a good question, Joe.
Absolutely, that's $1 million question too. And given the way coaching has gone over the number of years, and it really hasn't changed an awful lot. There's always that win at all costs mentality, and some players can tough it out, and some can't. Given there's only 4 players that did come forward on this, and some of them under full scholarships, and the rest of the team sort of substantiated it, but they didn't really go forward with a lot of complaints from their side of the fact. It does indicate that the bullying is out there. It's more of sometimes it's intimidation tactics, sometimes it's humiliation tactics, sometimes it's just verbal emotional abuse with regards to bullying. But you want to try and, if you get to the professional and the elite player level, you want to get as much as you can out of these players. So, they said, prima donnas or wimps and things of that nature. There are some kids or some professional athletes that, haven't experienced things like this type of coaching style, that is something completely new to them. So whereas other players, may have experienced some sort of, really harsh tactics in order to motivate the players to get them going. This is a coach here that's done very well. So
yeah. What's interesting about this is, when I grew up, it wasn't just select teams that were hard to get in. All teams were hard to get in.
Yeah.
You know, there was whole baseball seasons where I spent the whole season walking around with a bat on my shoulder and my glove hanging off it, looking for a scratch game to start off, because guess what? I didn't even make the most basic team back then. You know, and so you got these games where people have scores, and no one knows what the scores is, but everyone gets a trophy. And this is going on older and older and older. You know what? You know, it sounds like what's happening is that whole behavior that begins now in preschool with t-ball has now worked its way all the way up to college. What do you think?
I think you're right. You know, and I've been a proponent to a lot of leagues that now are taking away, not keeping score and things like that. You know, I've never been a fan of all kids getting ribbons at a young age and that nature as well. It's just they don't really know what it means at an early age. So I think, you know, everybody needs to be respectful with regards to kids that they do want to play sports, regardless of what level it may happen to be. They need to get to have that opportunity awarded to them, and so they can aspire to achieve their goals or do something, even just go out and have fun and play, sandlot baseball. It's got to be available for everybody to go out there and do it. I think that a lot of the coaches today, or not a lot, sorry, a number of coaches today are getting that win at all cost mentality, and they go to hand-picking their team and leave kids out in the lurch, such as yourself, walking around with a glove and a baseball bat, looking for a spot to play, where, coaches have gone aside and already hand-picked their teams before the season even starts.
Yeah, but you see, it was a character-building thing for me. It didn't bother me at all. I mean, sure, it bothered me. But you know who I was pissed off at? Was me. I didn't figure out how to get on the team. How could I improve the quality of my game? I think it's exactly what Chris said earlier. We're creating multi-generational wimps. And I think it's going to result into prima donnas by the time they reach college, and then monsters by the time they get to the pros.
You're exactly right. I mean, you take a look at everything that's done for a reason, and in sports per se, if you don't make the team or whatever the case may be, as you said, in your case, it builds character, and you learn to suck it up a little bit. But gee whiz, you can't sugarcoat stuff with kids, because at some point they're going to jump from youth sports and going to the real world, and the real world is it's got to be somewhat reflective of what's going on in sport. Otherwise, if you're candy coating your children, then what's going to happen to them when they get older.
Yep. Chris?
Yeah, well, and dealing with these kids, I mean, the coaches and stuff, there's a fine line between bullying and just being hard on them because they need it. And I mean, you have to take feelings into consideration at times, or understand your players and how they need to be talked to or coached. But at the same time, if you just take it easy on everybody and let them do whatever they want, like you said, they have to grow up at some point. What do you think about where's that line at where you go over the bounds?
It's a very fine line, I think it's the onus is on the coaches to know each and every one of their players on an individual basis. I'm not saying take them out to dinner, to the movies, and things like that, but you want to be able to know how these kids interact, or how they react is more importantly, because everybody reacts differently to different tactics, whether it's intimidation, whether it's humiliation, whether it's bullying, or whether it's just sitting down and talking to them to say this is what you need to be doing, you're doing this, or this. Be very constructive in your criticism. I think coaches need to be cognizant that every person is different, and you can't just broad brush a team with one foul statement that's going to reach everybody the same way, because it's not. Every person's different, which is what makes the world go round. So I think you need to be cognizant of, dealing with each player, perhaps on an individual basis, in order to get that point across. That might be okay for 10 players on the team, but the other 2 players are going to take it completely different.
Very good stuff. We got to wrap it up. Your final thoughts there, Chris Kidd?
Well, I know, being a coach's son, I grew up and dealt with a lot of that stuff that could go either way, and there were times that I had to kind of hold guys together, and I had to be the one that was the nice cop, so to speak. So I can definitely relate. Yeah,
great interview, Dave. Thanks for being with us, Dave Ferguson. You got the website? Is it BeyondTheCheers.com?
BeyondTheCheers.com, and anybody can check my stuff out there. And thanks for having me on the show. Much appreciated.
I'm sure we will check out your stuff. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. ChrisKidd.com. Don't forget that. Chris, CHRIS, Kidd, KIDD.com. All right, when we're back tomorrow, we're going to have much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at USDailyReview.com, and you've been listening to The Price of Business.